I'm no stranger here. I've been here before. But today, I want to talk with you as a first descendant of Linnentown. I lived in Linnentown with my mother, father, 3 brothers, and 3 sisters. This is an actual picture of the houses that I was born in. It was on 22 acres of land, 3 streets, South Finley, Linden Road, and Peabody.
We lived at 167 Peabody Street.
I lived on Linden Road, 193 Linden Road.
And Hattie, grandfather, who was on Finley Street, was my grandmama's brother. I lived at 183 Linden Road.
So I want to talk about this Black community that was made up of 50 families, hardworking adults, construction workers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, cooks.
My parents were Roy and Essie Crook.
We ran like a hotel. As you know, in those days, Black people couldn't go to just any hotel.
When one person needed something, everybody else pitched in.
My mom bought up a lot on Peabody Street, and the men in the community, the electricians, the plumbers, and all built the house. That's how my parents became homeowners. It was segregated then. We went to totally Black schools, and we played all over the neighborhood because we knew that the adults in the neighborhood was going to watch after us. In this community, we were happy children.
The community was tight-knit.
Everybody was like family.
Mainly, the thing about growing up in Linnentown was the University of Georgia in football. Just a neat area because you were so close to the University of Georgia. You could stand in our bedroom and see the 50-yard line.
This sign right here, I remembered it as a child. That's when the community knew something was wrong.
I remember vividly coming from school one day, and everybody, the whole neighborhood was in an uproar.
My mother was really calm, and she said, we're gonna have to go.
UGA wanted the land for expansion, to build dormitories and a parking deck. If urban renewal, eminent domain had not happened, we still would have been a family together. And we would have been at 141 Peabody. These politicians put that in place to help colleges and universities, not communities. The few dollars that they threw at the families was not enough. It was not enough. And the calculations was even different from Black families to white families.
It's this old saying, you can't fight City Hall. It was a matter of, Freddie, baby, we got to find somewhere to go.
That was the first time I ever saw my mom cry when she realized that property can be taken from you. All of us shut down. And she got where she didn't talk about anything. So we didn't know what was going on because she wouldn't speak it. And my daddy was there, but he could not let us know what was going on either. So it was really hard. That was a time when I was doing integration. I was gonna do my part in making Athens a better place, even though it was gonna be hard, and I did. I went to jail. I was locked up. I went downtown every time we had to go and sat at the lunch counters. Those long days of being called names and spit on and all of that was within me. And coming home in the evenings, listening to what happened in the community was another stack of stress on me as well. The next thing that we knew that we were moving. My parents were hurt and disappointed. Finally, my dad said he had to go work at the mountains where he could make more money. But things didn't work out as well as he thought, and he wasn't able to make as much. So my dad and my mama did the same thing. And so I was left with my older sister and brother. The family splits up. My younger brother and sisters, they were, went with aunts and uncles until my daddy came back. But at that time, I was graduating. So.
My parents were thriving. People worked hard on their property, and we had to go. We had to leave our homes and struggle to find other places.
We were the last family to leave Linnentown. So I witnessed everybody that lived in Linnentown at that time move. It was like a ghost town. It was like people had forgotten about us. That was a big thing, Linentown being erased.
My name is Melissa Link, and I am the Athens Clarke County Commissioner for District 2. I knew of this neighborhood that was wiped off the map to make way for UGA dorms. Joey Carter was a graduate student in the department that I work in, the philosophy department. I mentioned the name of the neighborhood. I told him it was called Linnentown. A few weeks later, we ran into him again, and he had clearly started doing some digging and doing some research. He asked me if I knew anybody who might have lived there. So I put him in touch with my constituents, and they were able to put him in touch with Hattie and others, and the Linentown project was born.
The Linentown project was made up of first descendants. Start going over some things and start talking about a resolution. And start writing a resolution and put a strategy in place and go to work. So that means forums, tours, demonstrations, meetings, community meetings, whatever we had to do. And I became an activist again. I started reaching out to President Moorhead and asking him to be a part of this team and to recognize the Linentown project. I wanted to meet with him or talk with him, but I never was able to do that. And then you start getting President Moorhead said, well, you have to talk to the Board of Regents. And the Board of Regents, it start pointing fingers, and the fingers pointing in different ways. The first thing we wanted was an apology. That's the first thing we are taught as children. If you do something wrong to somebody, you need to apologize. So, went to the mayor in Athens and said, will you apologize?
I remember an early conversation that was very tense.
We started off rocky.
When the first draft of a resolution was brought to myself and the county commission, there was certainly some language that seemed thorny to some of the people who were in elected office at the time.
Some of the commissioners said they were not going to vote for it if we had white supremacy in there.
So if you think about the Athens of the 1960s, so it wasn't a safe time to be a homeowner, because in the urban renewal era, it meant that your home may not remain your home.
Cities now are engaged in something called urban renewal, which means moving the Negroes out. It means Negro removal. That is what it means. And the federal government is an accomplice to this fact.
In hundreds of cities across the country, the city collaborated with the federal government to remove what at the time was termed blight. Every community that had an urban renewal plan used it for different purposes. In some communities, it was highways that tore through neighborhoods. In other communities, it was hospital systems. In some communities like Athens, it provided a home for educational system expansion.
The way the bulldozer at night was pushing the dirt so close to our house at night at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and my mother would say, just relax, don't worry, they're not gonna touch this house.
Rummy Hall was being built right in front of our house. And they would pile pipes on our property, and that was very intimidating.
To see houses being burnt, you had to hear it and you had to smell it all the time. That was some of the terrorizing that we called it, that was done to get us to move out. Some suggested that we change that word. We said, no, we're not going to change that because we were terrorized.
I tell my story through pain and gratitude. I saw what happened in Linnentown.
Just imagine a black family buying a house in 1938, and then it come in 1965, it's taken away for a little of nothing.
Linnentown is in your house because your predecessors took it from all of the residents, unilaterally used the power of the city and the state through UGA, the University System of Georgia, and the federal government. It is not just what you owe to them, it is what you are obligated to do as a human being.
Commissioner Edwards.
I was wrong. In fact, it was an act of terrorism to forcibly remove these people from their homes.
We are at the table, we are negotiating. What do we need to do? Do we walk away or do we stay at the table? So we decided that we would stay at the table. We changed the resolution to say white racism. But out of all the things that we had in there, the things that we said that had happened to this community, none of that was questioned.
And so as county commissioners learned of these circumstances, I think they grew to understand that this isn't extremist language, this is simply descriptive language. Part of what it takes for mature leadership is to acknowledge wrongs. Because if you don't acknowledge those wrongs, then you can't do any differently today.